I was starting to get worried that I'm I'm lost.
Yeah, I had a sustainability class.
Okay, yeah, somebody else has just joined. Okay.
I see America's joined. I saw Danielle
Mm.
earlier as well. Good evening, America.
Hello, sir.
How art thou?
Thou is exhausted.
Listen, you tell me, hey? No jokes, huh?
I cannot believe I'm doing all of this. I don't know where this strength comes from.
Isn't it amazing? Don't you think if you hadn't done this, you wouldn't have discovered that inner potential, perhaps? Yeah.
Mhm.
So
I might be
sometimes it's
tired,
good.
but I feel like a beast.
Yeah, no, it's good. You know, I mean, in any thing in life, you are stretched by people wanting to mine your potential. So when there's a coach or an athletic coach or anything like that, they stretch you sometimes to a point
Mhm.
where you are angry at them and you thank them maybe later. Say, well, thank you for stretching me. Thank you for helping me discovering that potential. Lee, good evening. Guys, I saw Danielle earlier. I just want to quickly put on the group here that we've started. Uh, I was in a sustainability class. We have started. Sorry. Who else is joining? Now, it is very intriguing that things have, there's Danielle, that things have happened so quick. Right, I've got Pussy, I've got America, I've got Lee, I've got Danielle. There's two people missing. Help me out quickly. We are missing Marcello and we are missing Tammy. We had seven people. You guys remember we had Sebo. Sebo then decided to defer his studies for now. So that's the reason why we are only 6 or 7 in our group. All right, the recording is running. Guys, Checho expressed something last night with which I completely concur, and that is the bumpy start, besides or despite, you guys seem to get your rhythm and somehow things are starting to pan out looking really, really satisfactorily from a lot of perspectives. So well done to all of you. It was definitely a bumpy ride and a lot of things from different aspects and different levels that made things tricky. Well done for persisting. Well done for staying on the bus and keeping keeping good attitudes along the journey. Um, yeah, it's amazing how quick, hey? It's literally the blink of an eye. I mean, with Remy class, we are literally sitting with 2 classes left. The discussion was initially, while I'm saying this, that we would do the presentations in class. So that would probably fall on the 29th. Remember, today is the 15th, or yesterday was the 15th. That takes you to the 22nd. That takes you to the 29th. So the 29th would be in close proximity, but after the submission of your slides to do the presentation. And then campus said, maybe we should try working outside the timetabled sessions. And then there was a lot of students that said, well, it's difficult to meet outside those timetabled sessions, so let's do it in class. And then it went back the other way, so there was a bit of to and fro. As it stands at this point in time, we are looking at doing our, we've lost Medica, doing our presentations outside the timetable class. In other words, the classes that are scheduled that are left is the 22nd and the 29th. Those will be normal classes used for theory. So there will be a date, and I'm going to set that up, and I'll do it in the next day or two because I need to send Reynolda, our academic support coordinator, our date. It will be outside normal timetable classes like we are doing this meeting now, and we will have a meeting where the 7 of us dial in on a custom Teams link, and this is where this will happen. If you attended my session last night and Tsego's session after that, I'm sure you are up to speed now on how this will work. There's a submission component on ARC. Guys, I'm happy with up to 12 slides. I really am. 6 to 8 is a guideline. 10 slides. If you want to use, look, if you can get away with 6, 8 slides, that's fine. If you want to use 10, I would allow you without problems to go to 12 slides even, if you want to use 12 slides in your presentation. That must be uploaded on ARC on the extended deadline of October the 24th, which means the most pressing thing at this point is getting your data. You guys are all doing qual under my leadership, and all of you need to do only 3 interviews. That's not a lot. You are literally not with your back against the wall, but you are literally in that place now where you cannot make easy of this. You have to get your interviews done sooner than later so that you can start analyzing, so that you can put together your presentation and submit it tomorrow, a week further, which is the 24th. And then the physical get together in a Teams meeting in a virtual environment like we're sitting in now will then happen after the 24th, but before the 31st, because the marks must be finalized by the 31st. So the deadline for your submission sticks. It's already extended. Looking at the close sort of how it's a bit close, I think it's a bit squashed. It's in too much of a close proximity to earlier assignment, but I mean that's a national call. We can't do anything about that now. It is what it is, if I can use that words. So you have to get your data in, 3 people that you need to interview, and then you have to put together all these elements that is in your rubric for part 3. And please, if you haven't watched or didn't attend my class last night, please go and look at the recording. I did post it on the class and also on announcements on the module page. I'm going through the things there. We're talking about abstract stuffies because you haven't got data at this moment. The minute you have your data, it's going to make much more sense to you. It's going to earth you. It's going to ground you. It's going to make it much easier for you to interact with your study, as it were. America, I wonder where's America. Can I just ask her? She's normally ask her, sorry guys. It's going to be much easier for you. Estelle, yes.
Good evening, Doctor.
Danielle,
Just
yes.
a quick one. I think I'm a bit confused. For our part 3 submission, do we have to have our interviews transcribed or done with the part 3?
Yes.
Or no?
Yes, you have to, because we want to see your preliminary findings. In other words, this is the sort of pivotal assessment. It's the sort of the assessment that will springboard or catapult or put you onto the trajectory to compile your final report. So you will see that preliminary findings is part of that. So you would have to make sense of your database in
Okay,
part
so we have
3.
to have our interviews done before our presentation is completed.
You have to.
Mm.
You have to. You have to. Now, I want to tell you, she says she wants to log in, but it keeps kicking her out. I wonder why. That's weird. Sure. Just going to go to the module page quickly, guys. So, do you care? And you are under no obligation whatsoever. I'm not going to share anyone's marks. I'm not going to put anyone on the spot whatsoever. Do you care if I bring up your individual submissions and just give you some guideline tips on them? Are you comfortable with that?
I'm good on
Well,
my side.
let's start with you then. Let me see if I can draw yours up. Guys, the reason I'm doing that is because we all tend to make the same mistakes. There's a lot of stuff here that I see. Okay, formative part 2. Right. I do see your submission. I'm gonna download. Okay, Danielle, it's Danielle, that's the correct pronunciation, right?
Yes.
I'm going to share the screen and bring up your work. And then we can go through that quickly. Obviously, you did see your mark and some feedback that I did give you. Can you see the PDF sharing on screen, guys? Yes. Okay. The overarching thing I want to tell you in terms of part 2, there's Medica again. Welcome back, Medica. The overarching thing I want to tell you is this. Don't make this too complex. Try and keep the scope very small, very focused, very limited. There's a number of you, and I'm just going to shoot now with a shotgun into the group, as it were, that have too many questions in your interview schedule. What's the interview schedule? That's the instrument where you ask your participants. That's the instrument you use to obtain the data. Remember, guys, you have to type those out manually and transcribe them. There's Tangi. Welcome, Tangi. You have to transcribe those interviews manually. It is 100% possible to do a study with much less questions. 6, 7, 8 questions, 100%. There's some of you that are sitting with, I think, too many questions. So that's the first thing I want to tell you. And if that's you, please make those questions less. 6, 7, 8 questions, 10 at most is what I would use. You could do a PhD with 8 to 10 questions. Don't make this because it's going to run away from you. It's gonna become, guys, in a week's time, you have to submit something with preliminary findings. So go down on that. In terms of what you guys wrote at the different elements, I was fairly happy with what I saw. Do some research on what is typically written under stuff like aim, goal, rationale, that sort of thing. Do the research to understand what that means. You have to work that out for yourself. You have to figure that out for yourself. Looking at the submission that you gave me, it's nice. I always say, yes, I'm carrying on about the neatness and the readability, and obviously I'm gonna say you must justify your text. Remember, Danielle. There's your title, guys. You cannot change the title. Some of you asked me if you can change the title. You cannot. So I'm speaking to Danielle, but I'm speaking to all of you through her paper. The title that was approved by the ethics committee, the title that is in your ethical clearance letter, that's the title that was approved. You can make no changes now. Nothing. You cannot make any changes from this point on. So please. Problem statement. I would put a bit more. I don't know. I know there was a word count on that. Use as many references as you can in a problem statement to really position and sort of locate your problem in contemporary literature as well. You have to use references to give credibility to your problem statement. So normally that's about, I would say, maybe a half a page even on that. Then you did something right here, Danielle. Sorry, Danielle. And that is, remember, we told you guys, the brief spoke about lots of questions, and then I took it up with National, and I said, one research question, one main and one sub. That's what they agreed on. Because I think they wanted us to do 3 or 4 research questions. Guys, don't do that. It's going to absolutely bomb out on you. If you've got 3 or 4 research questions, you have to answer all of them. And you have to answer them scientifically, and you have to answer them from the database, and it is just a massive headache. Please, one research question, one sub question. Only one research question and only one sub question. If you have anything more than that, fix it. I want one RQ and one sub RQ. In this case, you are doing it correct. All right. So the sub question would probably flesh out a bit and elaborate a bit. I don't like the sub question. I'm honest with you guys. I only want one question, but National does not allow me to do that. And that is why we are sitting with a question and a sub question. It's not something that I like. America says there's a problem with the link. I just want to answer her here quickly. America, yeah, that's a pity. There's absolutely no problem here. Everyone dialed straight in. The link is there. Remember, the fact that I give you the link a week or a day or 10 days before makes no difference. The link is the link. The link is anyways not live or active until the meeting starts. So sorry, America, it must be a connectivity problem on your side. But yeah, everyone got straight in and everyone is here. No one is falling out. So it's got nothing to do with the integrity of the link. I think it's a connectivity issue. Anyways, guys, but we've got it now. So you elaborate slightly, you unpack or unflesh a bit in your sub question. So this is what I said now. Remember, the big thing I saw, too many questions in your interview schedule. It's going to bite you, it's going to burn you, it's going to kill you. Make it less. You must make this thing really simple, even to the point where you think, yo, it's too simple. I'm not gonna. Will this meet the standard? Yes. Simplicity does not equate to compromising quality. Not at all. Keep it simple, 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 but with academic quality, academic rigor, scientific credibility, scientific objectivity, and. Aim at rational. I enjoyed what most of you wrote. Go do some research on how you would typically do that. All right, now little thing is that I'm always continuing about. Percent, we don't use that sign. We don't use that. We write it in 2 words, per space cent. Remember? Percent. We write it out. The numbers 0 to 10 we write out. And from 11 we use the physical numbers. We write those out. Et al. Make sure that you use et al. Correctly. Make sure that all of you are mindful of old sources, of dated sources. The methodological overview, paradigm approach method. Paradigm approach method. That's the recipe I would propose. Paradigm approach method. Motivate your selection. Why the interpretive paradigm? Why in your design that? Why the qualitative approach? Why the method of semi-structured face-to-face interviews? The population, and bring in references wherever you can to motivate your selections. Who's your population? What was your population criteria? How did you then approach your population to get a sample? There's 3. Some of you said purposive. Guys, if you say purposive, you have to convince me, because a purposive sample is a sample that's really specific. There's very, 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 very specific sampling criteria. And if you can't convince me that you need a purposive approach, I'm going to have a question mark on that. Because you want to speak to people, you want to speak to farmers, you want to speak to consumers, you want to speak to... Normally, if there's a lot of people in the population, then your sample method isn't... Purposive is not necessary. My example always uses people that have been abducted by aliens, or people that have been hit by lightning 10 times, or people that have had businesses that failed 7 times. There's not a lot of those people. For them, it's a purpose of sampling, because you're going to battle to find people. Find me one person that's been abducted by an alien in a month's time, you're not going to be able to do it. It's purposive. But for the rest, there's hundreds and thousands of people, of the typical people that you guys interview. So you can say purposive, but then you must motivate it. Otherwise, convenience sampling. Convenience means I've got access to these people. It's convenient for me. Coupled with, if you want, snowball sampling, which means if you did that, if you asked people to give you other references, then you used snowball. Coupled with convenience. If you didn't ask people to refer you, then you didn't use snowball with convenience. You only used convenience sampling. And again, motivate your selection. All right, so in that case, you would write the 3 out in words if you want to do it nice and fancy. Your instrument, which was attached, is then, of course, how you want to get. Now, you will not put this in your text, guys. Danielle, you will always put an instrument at the back as an annexure. You will never put it inside your main text. That's just practice. But I mean, if I look at your questions here, there's a lot. For you to work through all these questions in 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes is a lot. And for you to type this all out, I would cut this down, Danielle, and I think
I
you
will sit with it
understand.
tonight and calculate. Yeah, I will. I'll cut
You
it out.
understand why I'm saying that, right?
Yes.
And then there's your reference. Call it a reference list, guys, not references, reference list. I want you to make this. I want you to, all of you. Let's see if I can copy this. I want all of you to do this with reference list entries. Let's see if I can open a Word doc. Yes, there's a Word doc. Maybe I've shown this to you guys before. It's a very nice way to make your references look nice. So, on the page I'm sharing now, take the reference and decrease the line spacing in the reference that you are using. Decrease it. There's ways to do that. line spacing options. I know there's a place where you can do something to make this much smaller. I can't figure it out exactly now, but I want you to draw the actual reference spacing in quite a bit, and then you put some white space between. Yes, welcome, Erika. Then you put some white space between the references. It makes it look much less cluttered, and yeah, I don't know how to do that now, man. But please take this point, and I'm sure you might have seen this. So you wanna really bring the reference list entry. You want to bring that in and make it very narrow. Okay, that's not correct. And then white space and the next entry, so that you see these distinct entries, guys, as they sit there. Do you hear what I'm saying, Danielle, in terms of making this look a less cluttered? You want to draw the spacing in for the entry, bit of white space, and then the next entry, it actually stretches out your reference list a bit as well. So you make it longer and it looks nicer and less cluttered. Remember all the IIE Harvard Anglia guidelines and the comma before the date. Remember alphabetical order. Remember italics. Remember all of that, all the little things that we're going to look at. And guys, you will be sitting with pages and pages of references in your final submission. So in this case, look here, you justified your text that I'm always going on about. At the beginning, you forgot a bit. There's your table of contents, which I'm always going on about. Remember, those sizes and styles must be the same as in your text. Give us a detailed table of contents. America, I'm going on about the table of contents again. And make sure that everything is there. This is an annexure. Call it annexure A, and put it in your annexures when you compile your final report. You did submit it separately as well. There was a lot of stuff that you submitted. I saw that. So that's good. So yeah, guys, let's learn from this submission. It was a nice submission. I'm happy with that. Just decrease your questions. Clean up your ref list. But well done. You're well on track. It's almost a case of, listen, you speak to people that have got PhDs sometimes, and you ask them, what did you do for your PhD? And they say, I did this. And you ask them, did you only do that? What? Did they give you a PhD for that? Yes. That's the way research works. It's a very small block that you are looking at in the wall of the research landscape, but it's a robust wall we are building. And where you stop, the next person builds, and so on and so on and so on. So there's a lot of things that your study is not looking at. It's so simple and it's so narrow and so focused that it's almost ridiculous, and you might almost start worrying and ask yourself, am I doing enough? Because it doesn't look like a big wow, hoo-ha study to me, because it's so narrow and almost seemingly insignificant. Yes, I'm talking the truth, né, folks? You can identify what I'm saying. And how can I just give it a bit more oomph? Because I want my thing, surely I must do something more substantial or more profound or more changing and so on. No, don't fall in that trap. Very, very, very simple. You're going to do this. You're going to identify a couple of themes, 3, 4, 5 themes, maybe some sub-themes if you want to, if you don't want to not. And the themes will give language to the database, which give language to the topic under investigation, from the perspective of your participants, your stakeholders. So you're doing all the hard work for us, the readers. You're doing all the interviews and the transcriptions, and you're making sense of the data, and you're giving us those themes. And now we can make sense of the data because you went through the hard work working with the raw material. We are not interested in the raw data and the raw material and the transcriptions. That's not what I want to read. I want to see, how did you make sense of that database by way of identifying those themes? And when I read the themes, then the database makes sense to me, because the themes that you drew out of that database gives language to the important highlights, the prominent aspects of the database. That's what a qual study is about, guys. Please don't ever do a question by question analysis. Please don't ever do that. Please don't do a participant by participant analysis. Please don't do that. Treat the database as a global whole and extract the themes from that and give me the 4 or 5 themes that you discovered. 3 even is enough. Texture and color in what you found by personal accounts from participants here and there. Don't overdo it. Don't count, weigh, rank, compare number of occurrences, or 2 people said this, only 1 said this, so this is more important. This was the most important theme, then there was the second most important theme. You are quantifying qual data if you do this, guys. I'm talking to all of you. Don't do that. Metrics, number, statistics is of no importance. It's a linguistic focus. What are people saying about their perceptions, their truths, their realities? It's also not important whether it's true or not. McDonald's is rubbish, says one person. McDonald's is the best food you can get, says another person. Who cares? I'm not interested in truth as a qualitative researcher. I'm interested in what people perceive as reality. If I want to test truth, I go to quant, massive sample size, complicated statistical and mathematical models, and then I can say, absolutely, this is true. Right, you got me. It's amazing that we are at this point in the game, hey? Right. Please learn from everything I'm saying to all of you. Some of you, I think 2 or 3 of you, used gatekeeper's letter because you targeted people who are institutionally affiliated. Some of you targeted people, your sample is not institutionally affiliated, and therefore you did not need a gatekeeper's letter. You still required a personal consent form, at least, that you have to get signed before you can commence your interviews. I'm bringing up Tangis. Tangis, I'm not showing marks or anything. I'm not putting anyone in a difficult or vulnerable position whatsoever. I'm just giving you a bit of personal feedback. Guys, please don't share any identities of people or organizations, even if they tell you you are allowed to do it. It's an IIE ruling. So when you submit papers like gatekeepers letters or consent forms, submit only a template, a customized template. Customized means you put your name and my name and our details in there, and you refer to that as an annexure, where you say this is the template that the researcher used. Every participant, prior to the commencement of data collection and interview starting, signed. I explained to the person what the interview was about. They signed the consent form, and that was the business that we had to take care of before we started. You keep the signed documentation. You keep the recordings and I might ask for them, but don't attach them, don't give them to us, don't keep it. It's yours. The raw data is not part of the welcome back, Tangi. The raw data is not part of the write-up. You keep those stuff 5 years at least in a safe place. All right. Interesting study. I like your study. It's about the airline people. So lekker. Clean up your table of contents a bit. Don't use numbers, please. Letters, use numbers. Get a scheme, Tangi, where you have maybe different styles or different sort of bold, unbolds to give you those layers in your TOC, the page numbers there. Yes, that's nice. Make sure it lines up. So make it sections, makes it section 1, section 2, and so on. Your annexures is there. It's after your reference list. Guys, call it a reference list, not references. And then please give your annexures names as well. You don't have to use the names that the IIE gave us. So if there's a personal consent form and it's annexure A or H for hotel, you can say, for instance, your instrument is annexure A for alpha, and you want to call your consent form annexure B to make it sequential. You can do that. I'm not going to have a problem with that. But call it annexure A, interview schedule. Annexure B, individual consent form. Annexure C, this, or what the other, you see, informed consent form, annexure H. And put them there with the proper names and their labels, and then you continue. All right, there's your working title, there your alternatives. So again, Tangi, even if you come up with a title that you like more or you think it's nicer, we are not allowed to change titles after it's been approved, guys. So that's a good data point to just touch on that again. Justify your text. Yes, a block. Please justify the text. Make sure it all is used correct. There's an ampersand. I didn't subtract marks for you, Tangi, so I saved you 5 marks. So you owe me a bottle of Johnny Walker Black Label for not subtracting 5 marks. We're not allowed to use ampersand. We use and always. All right, topic justification. Incorporation of formative 1 feedback. All right, you're doing a lot of interesting stuff here. You're setting the scene here with your problem statement. I think it's well done. So I would like to maybe see a heading here where you justify, I want you to sort of have your main sections where you work with whatever falls in that main section, and then bring your subheadings in under that main section. And there's different levels of, so you're going to have headings and subheadings. I think that's what I want to get to. In this case, all of your headings are almost basically, well, not really, but you had your ABC sections. But yeah, clean that up. Then I've got very good news for you, Tangi, and that is that you can reduce your research questions. Again, like we said now, only 1 main question, only 1 sub-question. If you have to answer all this, you're looking at a PhD, and you have to do it in a week. So it's really good news. Think very carefully, guys, about how you want to formulate your main research question, and then the sub-question. The sub-question is not something completely new. The sub-question is maybe elaborating and fleshing out and building on the main question. That's why it's a sub-question. It relates to the main question. So you're gonna cut down these to 2 questions only. Aim of the study. Aim. Okay, that's a nice title. It doesn't make sense. So make sure that you look at that sort of thing. Do the research on what aims and goals and all of that means, guys. I'm not going to teach you that. You can figure it out. You won't use an ampersand in a heading. That's sloppy. Excuse my boldness. I'm just teaching you. Sampling method purposes, please reconsider of maybe using convenience. You've got access to these people. You're talking to normal human beings that are in the airline industry. Purposive, again, is very specific. It's people that are really hard to find. So if you can get away with simple convenience, I would go for that. Purposive is reserved for those difficult, hard to find population people. So what you also can consider is wherever you say stuff, back it up with references. The more references you incorporate, and that's for all of you guys, the better your academic writing is. The more littered your work is with references, the better of an academic you are. That's where the hard work comes in, because getting references is difficult. Integrating references and using them is difficult. Adding them in a reference list is difficult and it's time consuming. So the more references I encounter in an academic paper, I know the more hard work and sweat and toil went into that publication, because references, it's time consuming, it's laborious. Your sample size is 3, all right. You wrote out the word 3, which is correct. Remember, 0 to 10 we write out. And you told us who these people are. Then 2012, be careful. You say something here which is a very important statement. Here's an example. You say, it's suitable for the interpretive case because it will give you depth and richness. And you give me a reference here from 2012. That is, how old is that? 13 years. Tangi, you are going to get a red card for that, because you can find a more recent methodology text that's not 13 years old. Someone's going to give you a red card for that. Avoid that. Does it make sense? I see you holding a thumbs up there. It makes sense, guys. Just avoid old references. People are, remember, I'm not marking your final work, eh? I'm marking your presentation and then I'm done with you. People get pedantic about old references, please, folks. Right, and then you continue and you say how you sort of justify. While I'm seeing this research, it's making me think about something else. Guys, what I don't want you to do is don't say this study. When you give the study, the construct of the study, human nature, human nature characteristics. The study will do this, and the study will explore this, and the study will prove this. Don't do that. Put the researcher in those things. And a lot of you do this. You say the study will do, and the study will that, and the study. Don't do it. It's not the study, it's you. The researcher will do this, will explore, will aim to do this, and so on. Just a tip. Your data collection procedure and your data analysis and all of that, making reference to your documentation and your processes, all of that's good. Bringing in the references. Don't make, when you write about limitations are things that are out of control, out of your control. Delimitations is the boundaries of your design. I don't want you guys to shoot yourself in the foot with limitations. Don't ever make yourself look bad. Sometimes you will say, you know, you're not sure if people are going to open up to you or that. And then people's going to ask, but why not? Don't they trust you? Or didn't you create a comfortable setting? Why aren't they opening up to you? So don't put anything there that's negative. Again, do some research on 3 things, all of you. Limitations, delimitations, and data saturation. You must discuss data saturation. Do the research on what it means and tell me if you achieve data saturation or not. References, please make it a reference list. Yours looks less cluttered than the previous one. You can now just draw in the actual spacing of this entry and still make that smaller. And then the next entry. Here's another bottle of J&B Blue. There's someone at the door. Yes? Yes, you're looking for me. No, not yet. Brackets. We don't use brackets. Tangi. Tangi's gone. So please don't use brackets. And I think we use block brackets on some of these guys. Tangi, make sure that you comply with the Harvard thing. Your references is not alphabetical. The brackets is wrong. There's no comma before the date. I think you must use the block brackets here. You're going to lose 10% going forward. So please avoid that. And that's for all of you folks. We're going to look at every single thing, guys. Remember that alphabetical order. Remember all of this, all of these important things. So I think the main takeaway for you, Tangi, is reduce those questions in your interview schedule. No, I mean your research questions. Your interview schedule, let me quickly have a look at that. I'm not necessarily going to look at all of them. I want to give you the guideline for all of you to say, and you've seen what I've told our first student. Tangi, where are we? Tangi. Yes, there we are. Is please don't have too many interview schedule questions. I'm quickly going to look at yours. I don't want to make this meeting too long. But you're sitting with overall about 10. I think that's fine. I can work with that. If you can bring them down a bit still, that's fine. Otherwise, you can work with that. Remember, guys, it's a bulky, massive job to type out all those questions and then to sit and transcribe them and so on. And it's going to make your interview too long. All right, let's look at the next person. Do you find this helpful, folks? It's Mbele Lentelwane, that's you, Lee. Lentelwa Lee. Lee, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
There you are. Okay, I'm going to download yours quickly. Okay, this is a Word document. Research method part 2. Okay, it's opening. I'm going to just move it to my share screen. All right, Lee, that's your work. That's coming up there. All right, so guys, start thinking about using the proper cover page, the correct module codes. You can put word count on there, all that sort of things. Look at that. What's the correct terminology for the TOC, Lee? What do we call it? What should we call it rather? Table of contents, right? So give it that full name, table of contents. Again, bring your headings and subheadings in here. You've used your numbering. You can definitely bring in your subheadings. So don't be afraid to make your table of contents very detailed. It can be long. It can be 2 pages long. With a long PhD, the table of contents can span over 6, 7, 8, 10 pages. Believe it or not, guys. I don't have one here, but I can show you. So put everything that's in your work, all your subheadings, put all of them up in your table of contents. Right, there's your title. The first thing I'm going to say again here, Lee, is remember to justify your text. Yes. The title that was approved is the title that you can use, nothing else. There's your problem statement. Now, I see you've got references here. Be careful with a 2014 reference. Remember, it's 11 years old. You guys can really spend about half a page or so on on problem statement. All right, you, Lee, you put one research question in. So in your case, you have to add that sub question. Again, not a new question, not a new construct, but you are adding a sub question that builds on and expands on the main question. So if I could have it otherwise, I would really allow you guys to get away with only one question, a single RQ. But we must, unfortunately, after my negotiations, it came back as one RQ, one sub RQ, please, guys. So Lee, you need to give attention to that. Aim and rational. King 4 is there, that you also pick up that King 4 is written by the IOD. What does IOD stand for, Lee? You know, did you encounter it? Who writes the King report? Okay, so IOD, can you hear me, Lee? Institute of Directors. Whenever you make reference, sorry.
I was just confirming that.
You're confirming that. Whenever you make reference to the King report, you must bring IOD in. IOD is the authors. The Institute of Directors are the authors of the King report, IOD, Institute of Directors. King report's fantastic document. All entities are bound by it. So wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Sampling model. Now, this is a good example of what I spoke about earlier. So please take note of this. The study will focus. I would really put there the researcher will focus, because now you're promoting, you're boosting your own name there. You're boosting the whole vibe of the researcher, So use that, guys, rather than using the study will do this. There's another study and so on. So don't do that. Convenience sampling doesn't limit the generalization of findings. The fact that you're doing a qualitative study, that limits the fact that you cannot generalize, and you don't want to generalize. You've got no intention to generalize. So please remove any limitations that says you cannot generalize. You designed your study never with the intention to generalize. So remove any hints of limitations regarding generalizability. Methodology. The study will adopt a qualitative research approach. Again, yeah, use your own, the researcher, right? And you will talk about your paradigm, your approach, your method. Paradigm, approach, method. Guys, if I wake you up at night and I ask paradigm, approach, method, you must have it on your fingertips. Your instrument, right, again, you will put this somewhere in your annexures. You're sitting with 10 questions here, that's fine. If there's repetition, if you can make it less, you can do it. If you think this is fine, ask open-ended questions. What you are doing here is something I like. You ask a question, like here in question 4. You say, do you think this or that? And then you're going to get an answer. That's yes, no. You want to drill in deeper, guys, and that's why Lee is using a follow-up question. So you can use an absolute question, but you're interested in lots of detail. You're interested in depth. So when you use a yes-no question to open the door, always follow up with your question. Explain. Why do you say that? Can you give me an example? That's the sort of things that you will use to drill now deeper into those questions. I'm happy with this if you want to reduce them, because sometimes we tend to repeat. Guys, and of course, you use the literature and the theory to compile these questions. I'm happy with what I'm seeing here. There's a reference list. Be mindful of old references. Be mindful of not using too many online references. And I think you must try and add references, Lee, because you want to end up with a final report where there's, guys, listen, pages and pages and pages of references. So get cracking and get those references in and get a lot of them. All right. So I think the takeaways for you was then to look at those research questions and add substance for me. Add substance, integrate references, expand on detail. The more you integrate references, the more detail you give, the better substance, as it were, substance your submission has. Academic rigor. That's what I mean when I always carry on about academic rigor. It's a word I like, or a construct I like, academic rigor. Okay, next. That was Lee. Let's do Merika.
Thank you, Doc.
Did it help you a bit?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Because it's the same comments you left on the scripts, and then the more you're explaining it now, it's
It
giving
breaks
me
it
more
up.
likeness to, because you like when you put it on the feedback, you just summarize, what like the feedback is, but now on the session, you just expand it more, and I got more understanding of
The feedback is
what
so
you meant on the scripts.
The feedback is so cryptic that you need a PhD just to interpret the feedback, right?
Thank you. Thank you.
You guys don't think that's funny? Okay. Merika, what's your problem with the connectivity? Are you sorted? Let's go to downloads. Sorry. Okay. Yours was in PDF. All right, here we are. It's PDF. Merika Jakina Topiane. And we have your part 2 document up. All right. Let's go through this from the top. Nice document. The title is there. The detail is there. That's good. It's a nice cover page. There's a declaration. There's your table of contents. And for some reason, you started at number 4. You're typing something. I'm not going to take you out too much. But it's always a good idea to start at number 1. You can, but I mean, I'm just joking. All right, this is a neat TOC. You can put a heading there under below reference list that says annexures, and then you can put your annexures under a heading. When at the latest would you recommend that we conclude the interviews? That's a good question. You have to submit on the 24th, which is tomorrow for a week. So I would, guys, if I were you, I would do it this weekend. I promise you. I would do my interviews this weekend or Monday at the latest, so that you've got time to analyze, transcribe, identify your themes, and then compile your presentation. I would do it soonest, Tangi, to be honest. Merika, what were you typing? Were you explaining why you started at 4? I'm just pulling your leg. It's a nice TOC. Right, your topic. And your text is nicely spaced and it's justified and all sorts of things. I like what I see. There's your title. Again, it's your title that was approved by the ethics board. We cannot change anything. There's a problem statement, the paradigm. They put it in one heading. In a normal paper, we will never, ever, ever put it in one heading. That's stupid. So I don't know why they did that, but you will discuss a problem statement separate from a paradigm because they are two completely different things. And then you bring in references as best you can, which I like. In this case, you pertinently showed us that there's an RQ and a sub-RQ. Now, obviously, I'm always talking about RQ, but please write it out. Don't use the abbreviated acronym RQ. And you then framed your RQ or research question and sub-research question as per the directive. I'm not going to go into too much of this. I think what you did here was good. There's a rationale. If aim is a main heading 5 is rational, is rational on a different level, or are they the same? I'm just asking. Non-probability sampling, and now you spoke to that. So always two things with sampling: is it random or non-random, and then the actual. So it's the type of sampling and then the actual technique, and of course you went to convenience sampling as your selection. What you can do, Medica, and the rest of you, if you can find other sources apart from your prescribed material, please do that, just for the sake of getting different research methodology texts in there, because it does create the impression, even though it's all there, you would like to see not only deploy, deploy. There you brought some others in, so do that by all means. Where you can, consult a couple of research methodology texts to say the same thing, so that you're not bound to deploy here all the time. Remember, in this case, you're speaking about 3, so if you want to do it in a very fancy, you can write out the word 3, and 30 is 100%, where you would use the numbers. The data collection method. So obviously you're speaking about your interviews here. Now, here's a good example of not using the study. The study uses a telephone engagement. Use the researcher. You understand why I'm saying that, Medica? It's just gonna make your writing so much more. It's gonna look much more professional when you use the researcher. So do that,
Okay.
not the study. And then when you use telephones, please discuss the consequences of that, guys. There are some consequences when you're not using face-to-face interviews. Checho doesn't have a problem with Teams interviews. I don't like it. I would gravitate toward doing face-to-face, but it is allowed that you can use Teams, but discuss that and discuss the consequences, the possible consequences of using technology, and how you made provision for that. Will you want to say something, Medica?
Also, I'm listening, so I just unmuted my mic in case I want to say something and it doesn't give me problems. Yeah.
Okay, no, 100%. All right. So, you're bringing in your references here to substantiate what you are saying, and supporting your selections. That's good. You're talking about the analysis, guys. So what I really want you all to say is a manual thematic content analysis. Then the issues about trustworthiness and credibility and all of that comes in. You discuss that, and how you're going to make provision to make sure that the study is, we don't use the terms validity and reliability. Those are terms that are used in quant, so we use these terms. And then again, please discuss data saturation once you've done this. Ethical considerations, a big thing. Make a big hoo-ha about that. And here you will see what I'm sort of referring to. You know, the deploysal year citations just becomes a bit too much. I would like you to blend in, Medica, other scholars here, apart from, don't overuse. That's what I basically want to say. Don't overuse deploy. Then your instrument, it's called an interview schedule, and that's the only thing I want you guys to use. Just use that term. It's an interview schedule. It is semi-structured. So there's a degree of structure so that you can have people on the same page. Annexure A is a name of something, so you will write that with a capital. You will put your annexures after your reference list. In your TLC here, you changed fonts, it seems. That's a different font than this one. Again, you can bring in a bit of white space between your distinct entries to make it a bit less cluttered. And then, of course, all the rest with your adhering to the guidelines. So definitely a comma before the date missing here in the deploy year reference. I think most of you made mistakes, and I didn't subtract marks for any of you. That's the last time I was in a generous mood. But between the 6 of you, you owe me like about the case of Johnny Walker Blue Label, hey? It looks good. Just bring in and make it a bit less cluttered. Your questions. Will I find them in this document? I think you only submitted one document. There's your sample. I want to get to your interview schedule. And that's probably somewhere at the end of your submission, right? There's lots of paper here.
Yes, number 1.
Number 1, must I go down? Is it up or down? Your actual instrument. You only put a single submission on ARC, no?
Hi, sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you well. I can hear you. So I'm looking to find your funny,
Hi, sir.
Danielle. Yes,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well. I can hear you. Yes. So where's your questions, your research, your interview questions? Can you remember?
The interview schedule, isn't it the instrument? Isn't it number 9?
It is, but I don't see the actual questions here.
Isn't it number 9 on the? Yeah, okay. Isn't it number 9, the interview schedule? Isn't it number 9, the instrument?
It is, but we're looking for the actual questions. All right, never mind. The guideline is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 questions.
Are we not attaching the research questions for the participants, right? The questions for the participants that they must answer.
Yes, yeah, not research questions. Don't call it research questions. It is.
Isn't that for part 3?
Interview schedule. It's an interview schedule.
Oh my.
No, your instrument was part of this. So maybe it is somewhere. And yeah, please, don't ever call it research questions, guys.
I'm doing just
interview schedule. It's a set of questions to your participants, which is called an interview schedule. All right. Take cognizance of this. Obviously, you have to clean up this table of contents. Don't go to too much changes in fonts. Can you see this almost looks a bit funny, hey? Starts looking a bit funny with all these changes that you're making. It's up to you. You can leave it like that. I'm just saying, look at a published work and see how they do it. And look what is conventional. All right. Let's go to the last one, which is Vusi. Vusi, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Right. Guys, please don't miss this. Please don't miss this.
I did say I'm into decorations.
It's very simple. You have to submit something on the 24th of October. What you are submitting is that presentation with that rubric with 6, 7, 8, 10 or 12 slides where you have done your interviews, you've done your transcriptions, you've identified your themes up to the point where you can show me the preliminary findings and the themes It's not an in-depth discussion of them. But there's something that you can give me. Remy Formative 2 is the name of yours, Vusi. And this all has to happen in the space of a week. So, guys, really, if you don't get the seriousness of this, please don't leave this up to fate. It's going to be a tough week with little sleep, the way I see it. Really, it's a tough. I mean, we're so close from being done that, I mean, taking this on the chin at this point in the game is a small price to pay for achieving the goal, guys. Really, really, really. All right, Vusi. Again, there's all your paper. I think there's definitely a institutional cover page with logos and stuff on. See if you guys can get that. An abstract will be put in your final report, not here, so that's nice, but we don't need it here. I would clean up, I like the TOC, I would clean it up in terms of maybe changing the fonts a bit as you go to subheadings. I like the detail you are giving us here, Vusi, in terms of your subheadings. Reference list does not have a number and annexures does not have a number. Those are normally not numbered, as far as I can remember. You are giving the annexures a label and you're giving them the actual annexure name. I like that. That's nice. That's correct. I would just clean this up a bit. The first thing I'm going to say again here, Vusi, is justify your text. Like I do tell all of you or most of you. You're also talking about King. And here's the IOD that compiled, the Institute of Directors, that compiled the King report. The problem statement, the ideal, the actual problem, the process to be adopted, right? You split it up a bit. I want you to bring in references as best you can. Your research question, you said there's an overarching question, so that's the main question, I presume. And then you've got follow-up questions. So, Voos, in your case, you have to reduce all of these. You're sitting with, what, 7 or 8 follow-ups. Please reduce it to what we said earlier, one main question, one sub-question. That's all. The main and the sub are related. It's not a new question in the sub. You are expanding and elaborating and building out and on the main question. If you have to answer all these, it's going to take you months, and we can give you a PhD for this instead of a what are you guys, NQF8 qualification. Oh, follow-up questions. No. I'm mistaking. This is your interview questions. All right, Vusi, so you see what the problem is here. A research question is a research question, and an interview schedule question is an interview schedule question. So you're mixing them up here. Research question, you understand, right? It's got nothing to do with each other. This, what you're showing us here, is your actual instrument. And that's something that we want to see down there in an annexure or someone else. So fix and clean up your research question as a main question, and then your sub-research question. And these questions, if there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, then if that's your instrument and you're happy with that, you're going to give that the correct name, which is interview schedule. You see? Okay. The questions look nice. I see you also using follow-up questions where you deem that appropriate to use. Aim and rationale, I'm not going to talk about that. You spoke about your theory, lit review, so you brought in some of those things, your design, temporal dimension and reasoning approach. I'm not sure what that means. It sounds very esoteric. I would remove that. You can keep it in if it really makes sense and it adds value. Paradigm, approach, methods with references. What's your population criteria? From where you're going to draw the sample? How will you draw the sample? You're going to make use of and it looks like convenient sampling. Please drop the part about generalization of findings. That's nonsense. It's not designed to generalize, so we don't want to generalize. Guys, I'm telling you, this phone is very limited because I cannot sleep on it. It's a very uncomfortable at nights when I sleep on it as a pillow. I use it for a pillow. You're going to tell me, sir, this phone was not designed to sleep on. Get yourself a proper pillow and sleep on the pillow. Use the phone for what it was manufactured. That's to make calls. You are using it wrong. The limitations you encounter is because you are using the phone out of its design. It was designed to call, now you're sleeping on it. Sleep on your pillow and make phone calls with your phone. A qualitative study was not designed to generalize. It was designed to get very subjective perceptions and impressions from people. So don't shoot yourself in the foot by saying that it's a limitation. Right. The Ballant-Clark 2006 reference VOOS is a red card because it's 19 years old. Do you understand why I'm saying that? Can you understand why someone's gonna nail you for that? The analysis is inductive, it is correct. Qualitative research is associated with inductive reasoning, guys. Ethics, it's nice if you speak about ethics and keeping your ethical stuff close. I think you can incorporate more references if and where you can. The look of your reference list looks the closest to what I was previously saying. And you can even put in a bit more space. Can you guys see what I'm doing here? I'm adding an enter between what VOOS has done here. And can you see now that bit of white space? Can you see how neat this reference look, guys? Can you gooi me a thumbs up if you can see that what I'm currently displaying looks uncluttered? Can you guys see what I'm saying? There's white space. There's a distinct entry. I moved it out. I added additional spaces between what he's done, and it still looks nice. It looks fine. It stretches your overall length of your reference list. So that's the sort of look, if I can pinpoint an example of how I would like you guys to do that. The comma before the date isn't here. So immediately there goes your 5%. Guys, you owe me big time, hey? You owe me. No, I'm just joking. You don't owe me anything. But please, I was lenient not to subtract 5% and 10% from you guys. Don't know why, I just didn't do it. How easy is it to follow the Harvard Anglia IIE guide? If you don't have it, it's on the library website. How easy it is to literally look at every reference and make sure that this reference conforms to Harvard Anglia. And the next, and the next, and the next. So in your case, the comma before the date was your biggest problem. Guys, it's not going to go away. And if you continue studying, if you do a master's or a doctorate, the researching, referencing style is going to become more of a problem. It's gonna label you as a poor academic, as a bad academic. Referencing, take this from me, is considered the holy grail of academia. Did you hear that? The holy grail of academia. If you are sloppy in your referencing, you're putting yourself in a disposition that you don't want to be in, because academics are going to look at you through a different pair of eyes. If I see, guys, if I mark, and I've marked hundreds of papers, if I see sloppy referencing, I mark that paper with a bad mindset. I mark the paper and say, listen, I'm going to nail this person. This person is not an academic. This person is not worth, and I'm not talking about you, Bruce, or any one of you. This person is not worth his or her salt in the academic world, because that thing which we all hold so precious as academics, namely referencing, they are sloppy and they are buggering it up and are making a mess of referencing. That's how we as veteran academics feel about it, guys. That's how we roll. So play the game and get the score and get the wins and get the likes and get the goodwill. You want people looking at your paper and giving you goodwill when they have a red pen, a marking pen in their hands. So this is a nice layout. Fantastic. Fix your little errors. It's easy to fix. Guys, any closing comments there from your side, Vusi? Are you happy? Takeaways for you is to look at those research questions and sub-question and bring them down and bring in references. Look at old references, remove them, justify your text, bring in as much references as you can, remove the generalizability story. You're sitting on English United Kingdom here, guys. All of you, English, South Africa. That's all. English, South Africa. Not UK, not USA, nothing. Just South Africa. But well done.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. The start of number 4 is because I'm continuing from part 1 TOC. Okay, all right. So there's method in your madness. Fantastic. What are we discussing in the next class or Thursday next week? We are discussing probably, I think there's going to be a massive need in class for people to know if they are on the right track. Do you guys think we must allow students to do short mock presentations? Do you think that will be something worthwhile? And tell people to just quickly bring up your things, and we give each student like a minute or so. And just a quick bouncing and say, listen, you are on the right track, or consider A, B, and C. That was what I was sort of thinking, because that's the 22nd, right? And we are submitting on the 24th, which is 2 days later. And I think people are going to be frantic and stressed and all of that. So maybe maybe ask people, or the ones that want to maybe do some mocks was there. And then the last week is our last one, and there we will spend time talking about your final report, and then we are done. We've only got 2 more sessions. All right, guys, can we determine a date for our presentations now? Can we do that as a last agenda point, please? The calendar I'm sitting with here says that do you guys want to do your presentations with me Wednesday the 29th, before class or after class? Will that work? I'm saying the 29th, right? Yes.
Good on my side.
You've got a problem, I know. You sent me a mail as well.
But the 29th, I'll be available, not the 26th, so it's okay. I'm available.
Can we say, all right, so you're back on the 29th. Why don't we just dial in right after class and gooi it there and get it done? That's almost 2 weeks from now. Remember, you're submitting on the 24th. And then the presentation submission, the hard copy submission on ARC is done. But now you've got a couple of days. You've got 4 or 5 days to prepare and work on your actual presentation and practicing that and so on. I'm giving you guys a bit of a breather after that submission, everything that's going to happen now, and then the submission on the 24th. And now you must prepare for the presentation. I must have it done before the 31st. Now, that's on a Friday. the Thursday doesn't work well for me. So let's do it on Wednesday after class. Wednesday, after we've done our last class for Remy. Can I propose that? You guys are there. You are timetabled to be in class at 6 anyway. So let's just jump in there after and say at 7 o'clock on the 29th of October. We do our presentations. That will be a different link, guys. Or I might keep you in the same link and just chase the other people out of class and keep you there and say, right, let's continue. It will be 7 of us. 6 of you plus me. One person will be talking and the rest of us will be audience members. The slideshow you will be using is the one that you've compiled and submitted on the 24th. You're going to share it as a moderator and you're going to talk and you're going to take us through those things. I think it's a good idea, America. Let's make it 1930. Yes, otherwise it's just a bit too much. Guys, I'm going to love you and leave you now. I am also now wasted. Take care. Get your data. Get your data, please. Approach these people. Go and call them, wake them up at night. Pull them out of their beds. You need the data, guys. Please don't drop the ball. There's going to be no sympathy. Thanks for your kind wishes. Take care. We speak. I'll send this recording. Please remind me, someone tomorrow morning. Please remind me. Tangi, you asked for it. I'm going to point you to remind me more tomorrow morning to send you the link. Okay, guys. Take care. Cheers.